And today I am here with rapper, model, and exotic dancer Miraj, whose EP Past Due is coming out in October. How you doing today, sexy?
I'm great. How are you? Thanks for having
I'm
me.
good. You're welcome, of course. Love it. So, where are you originally from?
I'm originally born in Cincinnati, Ohio, and moved to Arizona with my dad when I was like 13. And I've been out here since then. I live in Phoenix now.
Word.
Yeah, it's hot.
I yeah. Well, I know. Believe me, I know about being hot. I am born and raised in Florida, and I live in Florida now. I want to get the fuck out.
You don't like it?
No, no.
No, it is getting pretty crazy over there. So
And it's like I'm like someone, especially like living here my whole life. I want to like get out. My thing is I can't make up my mind if I want to stay on the East Coast or move to the West Coast. Like that's
yeah, I think I have love for both. I feel like the West Coast has really good vibes, and the East Coast has uh I kind of like their style better, I would say, or like culture.
yeah, and it's also at least from what I've seen. Well, I'm not gonna say for the whole West Coast. I'm gonna say for LA, you have more genuine people on the East Coast versus like LA is full of fake people.
Yeah, it can feel so like transactional sometimes,
Yeah.
which is fine, we're all here to do something, but it's like you can have some genuine camaraderie in that.
But it's also with you saying it's transactional, it's like that's fine if you're visiting somewhere, but it's like if you're living there, it's like, well, how can you develop genuine friendships with people when you never know what their motives are?
Yeah, that would suck. I guess I always like I mean in Phoenix we kind of have this thing where it's like if you're from Phoenix we like look at you like, "Oh, cuz a lot of people aren't from here." So I feel like LA is
Right.
kind of like that too. So if it's like maybe if you found someone not from there, you'd have a better chance of hitting it off,
Yeah.
or if they haven't been there too long.
Yeah, that's kind of like that. So I live in South Florida now, but I lived in Orlando for 4 years, and it's like when I hear somebody from Orlando, I'm like, you're from Orlando? Like Orlando's where we go to like run away.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of the same for Phoenix. It's rare and it's like, "Why are you from here?"
Well, what is I've never asked this to somebody. I've interviewed one person from Phoenix before, but I'm guessing I ask you, what is there to do in Phoenix?
Everyone asks that. In the summer, it's like we seriously just stay inside because it's like
Right.
dangerous to be outside at that point, because it's like 120 in the highs here. Um, and we do have a lot of, I think a lot of artists come through here and do shows and stuff. You know what I mean? So we always have a lot of concerts. And I guess we're getting like this new Mattel theme park, which sounds pretty cool. And they're gonna have like a Barbie world and like Hot Wheels and stuff like that. So there'll be that. But you know what? It's not a whole lot to do. Like I'm not gonna lie. It's like, and the cool stuff to do is like pretty far. It's like a good 45 minutes. Like we have a couple of lakes around us, but they're all pretty far.
Yeah, and I mean like I've heard somebody describe essentially kind of like LA is basically like Phoenix except with like brand names. Like
Brandings.
no, but like brands and names. Like everyone's like fancier out in LA. Like compared to Phoenix.
It's really getting there. We grew a lot like when COVID happened because I think we were one of the places that didn't shut down, and a lot of people from Cali or Texas or wherever wanted to like migrate here. So we grew a lot in the past couple years. So it feels like it really is getting like similar to LA, especially with the traffic and stuff like that.
So I'm guessing Phoenix doesn't have public transportation either, right?
They do. They have a light rail that goes through like part of the city, not the whole city.
Yeah.
And they have buses.
So in other words, like nothing, like because I will say this: when people say like cities with public transportation, that was the one thing about Orlando is if ever I didn't have my car and I didn't have enough money for Uber, I had to figure out places where I could walk
What do they
because they have a bus and they have a train, but much like Phoenix, they have a train that runs in part of the city, but that's
have?
about it.
It's like you're lucky if you live by it, but if you don't,
Yeah.
then you're kind of screwed. Yeah, and then it's like I don't know. It's when I first moved to Phoenix, I used to ride the bus around a lot, but I've heard from a lot of people that it's like pretty dangerous these days, like the bus and the light rail and stuff. Honestly, we have a large, sure everywhere does, I've heard, but we have a pretty large like homeless population right now, like for real.
Really? Well, yeah. I mean, it makes sense because it's a city. Like,
And we have like, I think LA has a place, and we have like a place like where they're all mostly at. It's like close downtown or something. It's called the Zone, and
yeah.
it's like just camps of you know homeless people and stuff.
See, see, that's why if you've never lived in a city, like that kind of stuff shocks you. Like, I lived in like when I lived in Orlando, I lived downtown, but I didn't. There was like the fancy like skyscraper part of downtown, and then there was the hood where I lived because like
uh,
that was where some people are like, it's not safe, but I'm like, yeah, but it's affordable. Like,
right.
literally when I lived there and like this is like this is pre like COVID, pre inflation. Like you could never get somewhere this cheap now. I was living in a 1 bedroom apartment and I was paying $700 a month.
Nice.
Yeah.
I remember when I first moved to Phoenix, it was probably like the ghettoest spot in the city almost, but I had a 1 bedroom for like five and some change.
Yeah.
It was really cheap at the time. And now that's like 15 here, you know what I mean? And only like an 8-year difference.
Damn. It's crazy. So what was it like for you growing up as a kid?
My childhood was it's like okay. So my dad was raising me until I was like 5 because my mom passed away when I was a kid, when I was like
Oh,
1. And then, I feel like maybe he never really got over it, and other stuff probably happened to him throughout his life, and he turned to drugs, and he kind of got addicted to like crack and stuff like that. It was like during that era, like the 90s and
right.
stuff. Um, and yeah, I guess he would go through phases where he gets his shit together, he gets clean, and then it usually dips back. Like it's like a
Right.
roller coaster with him. So my grandma, my nana, I called her, took me in, his mom, and raised me till I was like 13, and she started having some pretty bad health issues, and she had to get like a
Yeah.
whole back surgery and everything, and it's like a pretty intense recovery. And so, at the time, my dad that was in Ohio, that part. In like
Right.
after Cincinnati, we lived in like a small country town, very like everyone is like a football player or like a cheerleader, like very, typical,
Right.
like, just country kind of shit. And it was pretty country, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
And yeah, then when I was 13, like I said, I moved to Tucson, Arizona with my dad. and that's about 2 hours from Phoenix. It's a small city. Um, and then when I was 20, I was like, let me move up to Phoenix because it's got a little more going on at least. And
Yeah.
I knew I wanted to get into like bartending, and I was actually already coming up to Phoenix every single weekend to dance because there was really nowhere to dance in Tucson for guys.
Yeah.
And so I was coming up here to work every weekend, and I just, decided to move up eventually. It's a good
See that?
decision, I think.
See, that's gotta be hard. Well, actually, like, I will say I'm one of very few people who are theoretically our age who knows what it's like not to have their mother because my mom passed away when I was 18. So, like,
Really. Oh,
yeah,
wow. See, that's pretty, like, you really had to like feel it when mine passed away. I was one,
yeah,
so it's like, yeah, I have that pain of like never having a mom or whatever, but I
yeah.
didn't have to go through losing her in a sense,
No, right.
or I don't remember it.
Yeah, that's the great thing. And, like, in some ways, like, everyone thinks 18 you're an adult. Let me put it this way. My dad was the one who
So
was like,
far.
my dad was the one who like thought that I was like capable of like being able to be with my mom when she because my mom had two different kinds of cancer. She had breast cancer and ovarian cancer. So it's like
No, so
so
sorry.
like thank you. So it's like at one point he was like, "Oh, you're gonna be the one to stay home and take care of her," and I'm like.
You're like,
Then eventually, like I think it was like one day, and then eventually he ended up getting a nurse because it's like I just because especially my mom was the person who's like she was she was very stubborn in the fact that she was like she didn't want anyone to cry in front of her, and it's like when I see someone who's like I consider like the strongest person in my life basically get reduced down to nothing. That's all I wanted to do was cry. That's
yeah.
yeah,
I remember my nana passed away when I was like 20. So that was kind of like my version of me like losing my mom because she
yeah.
was like she kind of stepped in
She's
and
the one
was
who
like,
took care of you. Yeah,
right. I felt like she was like the one that like really cared about me as a kid. If it wasn't for her, who knows where I would have been with my father, you know what I mean? So
and like the hardest part. So this comes with my next question. So, what was it like for you coming out?
oh, that's a good question. Um I came out, it was pretty funny because I it was pretty typical the way I did it, I guess. Like at first I came out to my friends that were girls, right? You feel more comfortable
Right.
coming out to like the girlfriends for some reason. Cause you think the guy friends are gonna be like, oh hell no. And so then I think I came out to my guy friends, and surprisingly, it was just like for me, the experience was like everyone kind of maybe thought you were, and they're like glad that I came out because they feel like I'm being a more authentic me, which was really cool. You know what I mean? Because I know
Yeah.
like, not a lot of people have that experience with it. And then at the time, I was like 17, and I was living with my aunt and uncle and like their kids, my cousins. And I just like sat them in the living room one night because I had went on a date with this guy, right? And I was like, I thought, we're gonna be something, right? And so I'm like, I better sit them down. It's getting serious, and
Yeah.
tell them that, I like guys, basically. And they're like, yeah,
Yeah.
oh, that's fine. Like, we kind of maybe thought so, but, we were just like letting you do your thing, figuring it out. And it's like, oh, cool. So my experience wasn't really bad at all with that, honestly.
I will put it this way: family wasn't the problem, but I did have a problem with my coming out.
Yeah.
So the thing was, I came out 4 months after my mom died. So it was like I say in some ways I had it easier because I only had to tell my dad.
I guess,
And
yeah.
then I had like an older sister who, so when I came out, the religious person that I came out as bisexual, but even that was like such a like big
I
thing.
did too.
Literally, so here's the bad part. I came out to a youth minister, which was a mistake.
Like you were feeling that guilt.
And then I told him about this performance idea I had with like a knife and how I had practiced it because I'm theatric,
Uh-huh.
clearly. Like, and like, so he left the room. He came back in about 10 minutes later. He said, "You have one of two options. Either you're coming with me or I'm calling the cops."
And where was with
And
him?
we're getting there. So he took me to get a psych eval.
Of course.
I passed it.
Oh shit. What?
He lied to make it seem like I was lying.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, I got locked in a mental institution for 64 hours.
Oh my fucking god. That's what those religious people will do.
Yeah. And then once I got out, he set me up with this therapist who was trying to pray the gay away.
Like a, what do they call that? Where
They
they
call it
try, there's like a name for it.
conversion therapy.
Yes.
Yes.
That's crazy. Wow. So clearly it didn't work. Because
Yes. I thought it worked for about 6 hours. And then I saw a guy who I was attracted to. I saw his ass and got a boner. And then I'm like, nope.
you know what I mean? Yeah. Like when I knew when I was a kid and when I was still dating girls and stuff, I suspected it a lot, and then I was just, kind of hoping it was a phase that would go away. And if I don't think about it and I just focus on the fact that I'm dating girls and, like mess around with them, that it'll just go away eventually. I'll become more attracted to the girls or whatever. And that was just like never the case for years, So it's like you just come to terms with it, I guess, right?
Yeah. And it's like, because theoretically, okay, so this will just give me a better sense of your age. So you said you were 17. What year were you? What year were you 17?
What year was I 17? I don't know. I was born in 93.
Okay, so all right. So you're a year older than me. I was born in 94. So like,
Really?
yeah. When I came out in 2012. So it's like that was, I would arguably say, this question is going to come up later. I had this argument with somebody where I said, in theory, it was better to be gay then. But this person pointed out to me, they're like, when was it ever good to be gay?
Right.
And I'm like, fair.
I mean, I feel like people are more sensitive now, in a way. Like it's like an issue in schools and stuff to like call people by their pronouns and everything. Like when we were kids, like gay was like a synonym for that's bad. Like that's
Yeah.
gay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like even like I would say it.
And it's like back then the T slur was thrown around all the time.
For sure.
Even on like, the craziest part is you see it on like shows that were on Logo, because like on the A-list New York, like they literally, Austin Armacost literally used that word to talk about a drag queen, and I'm like, how was this acceptable? Like,
Yeah, that's ignorant.
it's like, I'm like, this would never fly now. This person would never be able to work again. Like,
Right.
yeah.
It's so funny looking at the differences and what's allowed and what's not. Even like, especially with like comedy, like remember comedy specials back then, like that would never fly today. You know,
No, yeah,
it's crazy.
because like, and granted, like some of it, you don't want to say you find some of it to be funny, but you still do, even though you know it's not politically correct. But it's like, honestly, if we're all just focused on being politically correct all the time, we'd never get anything done.
Yeah, and I feel like we would all morph into just one style of being, and it would be boring as fuck.
Yeah.
I mean, not like people need to be disrespectful and shit, but I think it's okay if like both parties have a sense of humor to joke around with each other sometimes, like but
I mean, yeah, it's just like, that's the thing. I also feel like when I'm talking about to like people who aren't gay, talking about the ways that like gays people talk to each other sometimes, it's like, yeah, but that's my friend. Like, yes,
right.
you might think this is the most hateful, vile, disgusting thing you've ever heard, but at the end of the day, it's just a joke, and like I love that bitch, and we're gonna hug, and like everything, and it's gonna be fine.
Oh shit. My computer almost turned off. Sorry.
That's right.
Technical difficulties. No, but yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So I mean, you briefly talked on this, but what was it like for you moving to Phoenix?
It was just um it's super hot. Even the Phoenix is 2 hours away from Tucson, but it's always like 10 degrees hotter just because, like, I guess maybe the elevation, and I think it's like just all the city, all the asphalt, it just heats up during the day. You know what I mean? Like a fucking oven,
Right.
like a big oven. So it's definitely hot here. It's big. It's like it's like one of those cities that are split up into like different sections. Like we have Tempe and Scottsdale and Glendale, but it's all just like a big portion of Phoenix.
Okay.
Um, I definitely got lost a lot when I first moved here, so it's big. But I mean, I like it. I was thinking like, I don't know, it would be good for me to like move somewhere else because I feel like I've grown so much since I moved to Phoenix, and like even just made like so many connections and just know like a lot of good people and stuff like that. So I feel like, oh well, it'd be cool if I could do that in like another city. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's like, especially I would say, as artists don't like to like settle down in one place and like live there forever because they need to be inspired by new shit. Like,
That part, yes, the inspiration. The last time I went to Cali, I really, really did love the weather, and like I said, is some of it felt very transactional, but there's probably those people everywhere. But some people were pretty nice. Um, I don't know. I also feel like Texas would be a good place, like maybe Dallas,
ooh,
or I like Atlanta. I have a good time when I go to Atlanta, but a lot of people say they don't like it there.
I will say my idea is to theoretically use Atlanta as like a transitional city
Yeah,
once I leave Florida because it's like I know, because this is the thing about doing, especially like doing this podcast. I now know people. I wouldn't say everywhere, but I know people in like different parts of the United States. Like I know people in Boston, I know people in New York, I know people in Seattle, I know people in LA. It's like,
right.
but my thing is the only reason I'd want to like theoretically quote unquote settle somewhere is because like my idea would be to like get this and like get like a studio to do this and like do interviews with people in person.
Ooh, that would be cool. Yes, we could sit there and like sip on a drink or whatever.
Yeah.
I love that.
And it's like, it's so like, especially like, I had this discussion. I just did an interview on Tuesday, and it's like, that person's like, that would be such a vibe for you. It's somebody I had interviewed at this point, as I was talking to you before. I am not opposed to, like, some people constantly want to meet new people. Listen,
Mhm.
if I can interview somebody 4 or 5 times, I'm gonna do it. Like, if I can start
Yeah.
coming up with questions with them, like, it's so much easier than having to try and like reach out to people. Which I want to be clear, I'm not being lazy by saying that. I'm just saying it's hard.
Yeah.
I'm saying that because some of my fans like to be shady.
Oh, do they? They throw shade.
Well, literally okay. Speaking of the person from Phoenix, I interviewed one other person from Phoenix. His name is Seti, and when I was
SETI.
Seti, he's
What do they do?
they are a OnlyFans content creator.
Probably seen him around, but it doesn't like ring a bell.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just Seti's like short, little, like 5 foot. I think he's like 5'9", 5'9", big ass, like literally just like love the bitch. Anyway, when I was interviewing Seti, I asked Seti, do you believe that do you think you need a nose job? And somebody in my comment section said, like, why do you think Seti needs a nose job? I'm like, that's not what I said.
But why did you ask it?
Because I was curious. Because Seti has a big, not that I'm saying this is wrong, Seti is black, but he has like a big Arabian style nose. And I'm like, some people don't like that.
Yeah,
That's
some
why
people
I
would probably
asked.
want to get it fixed. Yeah, I feel that.
What, you try to make me look like a bitch? Is that what you're
I just think in the fact that you ask is like, it's funny. I would have laughed.
I
Well,
love the bitch. Like,
do I need one?
no.
Is that one of the questions?
No, that's no, that's not. I don't ask everybody. I have theoretically the same questions I ask people, but that's not one of them. No, there's what was the other question that I directed
I'll be
towards
on the
him?
lookout for this person now.
Yeah. The other question is, the thing is, we follow each other on Twitter, and like he said, like, I'm not afraid about sucking a guy's dick past the nut. And my
Like,
first question,
after he nuts?
yeah.
Okay.
And my first question was, I'm like, with doing that, I mean, like, great, you do it and all, but it's like, are you ever afraid of somebody pissing in your mouth? Like, that was.
Yeah, because sometimes it feels like that after you
Yeah,
nut.
yes,
It feels like
exactly.
you're about to pee.
And I'm like,
Maybe that's what he was insinuating, that he wouldn't mind.
no, he said that's what he said. He said he wouldn't mind with somebody that he knew. And I'm like, well, that's fair.
Wow. Did you ask if they would swallow it? Because what do you do once it's in your mouth? Like,
you know what? I might interview Seti again. I'm gonna ask. I didn't think to ask that question.
That's crazy.
But it's like, I'm always about like crossing. Well, no. As I was explaining to somebody when I talk about my interviews, I'm like, the first interview is theoretically the quote unquote innocent interview. When I invite people back, it's usually when I like push the boundaries.
Oh yeah, that's fun.
Like, I ask people if they've had sex in public. I ask them how old they were when they lost their virginity. Like, those kinds of questions, which I wouldn't do with somebody off the bat unless I think I could get away with it.
I don't really mind like questions like that.
No, because
I like to keep some mystery to people, but I'm not like super uptight either.
well, one thing that I forgot to put, you also do OnlyFans, so like obviously,
Right. Obviously,
yeah,
I'm in the industry.
right.
But I have been kind of like rebranding my content on there a bit and like switching it up from like what I used to post, honestly. Because I had quit doing it for a while. And I'm like, yeah, so I'm trying to get back into it, but I want to make it, maybe just a little different.
Well, okay. I didn't write this question, but I'll ask it now anyway. It's like, so in that, do you kind of want to rebrand it because in some ways you want to be taken seriously as an artist?
Yes. Yeah. That's
Because
definitely part of it. And then just I guess also have it to be like if there was ever some kind of leak or some post that comes back to haunt me, I would be somewhat okay with it. And I think definitely there was stuff that if it was exposed to the general public, I would be like not okay with it. You know what I mean?
but I mean, I get that because like again, referencing the person that I interviewed on Tuesday, their name is DeMilo, and like they completely stopped because they're like, I want to be taken seriously as a musician, which
Uh-huh.
they should be. They're fucking talented. Like it's like wanting to distance yourself from that. It's like because in some ways you probably, and you can correct me if I'm wrong about this, you probably started doing that stuff when you were at like a lower point in your life, right?
I did open my OnlyFans during COVID when the
Yeah,
club that I was bartending at shut down for the second
right.
time. And my landlord was like, "Where's the rent?" And I was like, "I thought, landlords were like waiting." And he's like, "No, what the fuck?" And I was like, "Oh wow, that's news." And then, unemployment wasn't even like kicking in yet. That shit took a long time to even get.
Yeah,
So I opened my OnlyFans and it was really good money to open it too, because it's like, you have some people waiting for you to open it. And that time in general, just a lot of people were uncomfortable with doing in-person stuff because they can't have the option to go see a dancer or something. So they
yeah,
have to kind of do an online experience. So it was a good market for sure.
right.
But yeah, I do, want to. I think I'll still have it open for now. Um, just switch up the content, not super like just porn ish. To be
Yeah,
honest, I mean more like photo shoot styles and themed ideas, and like it can still be collabs, but it would be like like tasteful probably photos and like some stuff that you kind of would see in like Playboy and stuff like that.
that's actually kind of, that sounds like not bad, and like
Yeah.
you'll get somebody to you'll get some people who will like obviously revoke their money because all they want to see you do is get
But you
fucked.
know what? You get that with everything though. You
Yeah,
could you could be doing like 99 things and they'll be like, "Where's this other one though?" You know what I mean? It's like Jesus Christ. Like you literally can't please everyone. So you just got to please yourself. That's what I found.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like do what you want. Like literally, I don't care if you literally. I'm gonna quote DeMilo again, where he's like, "I've seen what made you applaud. I don't care if you boo me." Like that's the mentality you have to be in. Like
Right. Yeah.
so What made you want to get into exotic dancing?
It's so funny. I always felt like I had this calling for it as a kid, like way too young to even like justify. Like I was like 8, 10 years old. And like it was like my friends too, my guy friends like would agree and stuff. And like I'm like this skinny ass kid. And like, I don't know. I just always felt like I got that vibe where I understood like, that essence. Um and then when I got older, uh it was so funny. I have this best friend and she was a dancer and she pretty much like really motivated me like, yeah, you should really start doing this. And then, I came up to Phoenix one weekend and it was like history from that point.
Work. So, what was it like for you the first time you performed?
um like dancing,
Yeah.
I remember the first time I got on stage, I definitely almost froze. I probably did freeze for like half a second. You know what I mean? I was like, oh my God, don't freeze. Like, move, Mitchell. And so, um, yeah, it was fun. It was a good time. It's like, I was definitely more nervous back then, but I'll tell you what, they love a young twink, like they, and
Yeah.
you know what, they like the fact that you're new, not necessarily because you're good at dancing or you look like you know what you're
Yeah.
doing, but that's why they like it, because they know you're new and they know you don't know what you're doing. So I feel like they kind of think they can, like, I don't know, they feel like they can take more advantage of you when you're new, to be honest, and that's why they like
Right.
it. Yeah.
See, I will say this, like, unlike most queer people, so I'm a musician. So, like, how I actually started doing drag was I started performing at open mic nights and straight bars.
What, in drag?
Hmm.
Oh, period. That's
Yeah.
sick.
And, like, I did original music, and, like, the owners, as I said, the owners were cool with me, except for, like, so there was one time, like, at the end of one of my songs, I had screamed motherfucker into the microphone. And then the following week, I got told by the owners not to do that. And I'm not repeating myself again, please.
Like, what's wrong with that?
Yeah, I'm at a bar. I'm at a bar that's 21 plus.
I always feel that way when, like, certain establishments have certain guidelines, and I'm like, is this not a bar where we serve alcohol? You know what I mean? Like, some places don't even want their dancers to drink at all, and I think that's, like, I definitely don't think a dancer should be wasted and fall off the stage, but I think
Right.
um a lot of people are nervous when they're in a fucking thong in front of 100 people. So why not give them a drink or two? You know what I mean?
Well, it's
Like, and
also,
then it's like, why? Like, what's so wrong with having a drink in a bar? I'm so confused.
it's not only that, it's like you're talking about being in a thong and like you got you got a bunch of motherfuckers who are gonna try and cross the line
Right.
because it's always, as I say, people like thinking that like, and it's the one that drives me crazy. The fact that like people just think without consent they can touch somebody's asshole. It's like, what the
Right.
fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah. There was I don't know. There was all this stuff going on recently here, and it's really valid and it's really important. Um that performers, make sure if they like touch an audience member that they have the consent of the audience member, and the audience member is not going to get offended by being touched, right? And I like I said, I think it's super important, but I think it's just as important to make sure it's happening the other way around too, to where if an audience member is touching a performer, that performer is okay with it too. And when
Yeah,
a performer lets a staff at the bar know that someone crossed that line, it should be taken really seriously, just like how it is the other way around. You know what I mean?
and it's like,
That's all I'm gonna say.
and it's also in some ways you have to act professional because there was one time,
Exactly. You don't want to lose your temper.
there's one time I wanted to, so like I wasn't living in Orlando at this point. I'd already moved back home, but I was visiting, and like I was like performing, but I wasn't performing at a place in the backstage. So like when I wasn't performing, I was sitting among the audience.
Hmm.
And when I did, I was just sitting in a chair, minding my own business, and I had some motherfucker literally snatch my wig off my head.
See, I would have swung.
And it's like, baby, you are. I'm not that. I would have taken my shoe off and beat him upside the head. And the fact was, I was performing at the bar I performed at all the time. I probably would have gotten away with it because
Right.
it's like you touched me. I'm not. I say the amount of times that people did that. I've had
That's
people. The crazy, well, the one where it's like, I love when people say like sexual harassment. Like again, as an entertainer, you just gotta get used to it. I had a guy one time. I was like trying to go. I was like parking my car. I was about to like get out of my car and like walk into the bar to go perform. And a guy rode up on his bicycle and just like whipped out his dick.
what the fuck is that?
And I literally mouthed the words. I'm like, "Go away!" And he stayed there for like 2 minutes. I had to turn on my car and drive forward for him to move.
What the fuck? That's crazy. Was he like jacking it?
No, it was just like out.
Oh
And
my god.
and it's like it was a black guy, and it's like, yeah, I know you're into me, thick bitch, fat ass. That doesn't mean like what's gonna happen here is
Right.
what you want.
Consent is really important. I'll just say that.
Well, again, I know that because also, as I said, harassment. I've also been sexually assaulted in drag. So like that was another guy who like I was like literally just leaving the bar one day. I think it was at like a Wawa parking lot like next door. And
Hmm.
like I was getting into my car and a guy just like walked up and then he's like talking to me and I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, and all of a sudden he just got in my car.
Oh fuck no.
And I'm like, granted, you have to think about your safety because that's why some people are like, why
Hmm.
didn't you do anything? I'm like, it's like I'm in Orlando. I don't know if this guy has a knife. I don't
You need to
know if
be
this guy has
careful,
a
yeah,
gun. So I'm like, let me
because
just
he's obviously he's not there a
yeah.
little bit. You know what I mean?
It's like let me just drive him home.
So
And as I was like driving him home, he like whipped out his dick. I'm like in my car, and it's like it was like ashy and disgusting. I'm like,
ashy.
yeah. I'm like, no, stop it. And I was trying to like make it appear as myself appear as uninterested as I could be. And like
Right.
when I was at a stoplight one time, all of a sudden the guy reached across the center console and grabbed my crotch.
What?
And like as I say, to this day, I don't tuck and drag. So literally, when he grabbed everything.
Oh my god.
And I think what finally got him out of my car because he wanted to have sex with me. Like it was very very clear, and he would not take no for an answer. So what I had to do was I think I had like a soda, and I basically just like gave it to him because I'm like, what is it gonna take to get you out of my car? He's like, I'll take, and it's like, I'll take your soda. I'm like, granted, it's $2 I wasted, but I'm like, fuck it, it gets you out of my car. I don't have to deal with you anymore.
Yeah, I would have sold the soda to save myself. I don't know. I think the most offensive thing when I was dancing, I'll never forget. It was this one old ass like short guy, and I was dancing on this like platform box. And you know what? I was actually standing on the ground and I was bent over and I was kind of twerking. And there's like these benches behind me facing me. And this motherfucker pulled my underwear down. So my whole ass was exposed to like all these people. And like I just remember grabbing him and I was like holding him by the throat. I don't know. I told him like you're lucky, or I told him watch it. Yeah, I said watch it, motherfucker. And I was just like so close to like swinging on him, but it was like definitely would have looked like the crazy one when I just like am pissed that someone exposed my whole asshole in public.
But it's like, I mean, granted, I would love to say violence is not the answer, but it's like sometimes you just gotta like think in the moment, and it's like you're not always gonna react the perfect way, but sometimes some people don't understand like they're going too far.
Right.
Like as I said, like touching a dancer's asshole, it's like without their permission. It's like, how do you not know that that's too far? It's like and they're like, but I'm giving them a 20. It's like, why the fuck does that matter?
Yeah. People are crazy.
And it's like, some people think it's funny, and it's like, why? These people are working. Like, we're working.
Right. Yeah,
And
most people do it for money, not for fun.
yeah. And it's
Plot
like, yeah. And it's like no time and place. It's like, for me,
come on. Yeah, like even if we were into it, we could get fired for that. Like that's so stupid.
like, I would do stuff after. Like, so the place I performed at in Orlando used to have like a beach out back, and like there was this guy who had a cross-dresser fetish, and he's like, you want your dick sucked? And I'm like, who am I to turn down a free blowjob? Like,
there's a lot of guys
so,
like that.
yes.
Huh?
Yeah. And it's like,
it's so funny to me. I mean, it's not funny, but it's interesting that it's interesting that they developed that like hybrid of interest with a cross dresser, but they want to suck the dick still. You know what I mean? That's what's interesting to me. Like,
as I said, I don't care what you think. It's like, as long as, and he did it more than once. I think I did it like 6-7 times with him. I'm like, if that's what you want to do, baby, go ahead.
I guess he was good then.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. And then the other crazy story I had there was like, that was the time I was staying. That was the same night that I'd got my wig pulled off. I'm like, I had a guy who's like hit me up on Grindr, and he's found out like, because I dressed like a slut, so I was wearing a thong, because of course. And like he's like, I'll fuck you in the parking lot, like, and I'm like, okay. And there was like this giant field out back, and like it's like 10 it was like 10 minutes, and then like he got nervous, and I'm like, okay.
It was probably like his first time and shit. You were about to turn him out.
Probably, because like, as I say, most people like started hooking up with gay people when they started hooking up. Like, I would say like
guys that like transgenders, they start with like gay guys. You're saying?
No. I'm saying like most gay guys in general, just like gay guys. As in like I was getting even out of drag straight guys like hitting me up like DL guys.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. So it's
Okay,
like
okay.
the guy I lost my virginity to was like 32, but like I told that to somebody and they had their eyes started to widen and they're like how old were you? I'm like I was 22. Like
Oh my God. That's crazy. Damn, so
it,
you were 22 when you lost your virginity?
yeah.
Wow.
I know, old bitch.
That's very conservative of you, yeah.
Well, it's not that it was me being conservative. It was this area is like full of white people. And white people in general, I'm stereotyping, but it's like for the most part it's true. Because of the fat ass, their dick is not big enough.
Really?
Like if a guy doesn't have at least 6 inches, it's not happening. Like
Period. She's got cakes.
of course, baby.
Yes. That's important these days.
And it's like, and then all of a sudden, when I did lose my virginity and I was living in the hood, I'm like, well, obviously, I'm not surrounded by white people. I'm surrounded by black people. So, like, that's who I've had sex with more. It's like,
Right.
and you get used to it. But I will say, white guys, hit me up in my DMs. You might have a shot.
You might just maybe. You'll have to check first.
Well, I mean, for me, it's like check and it's like fair because I don't want somebody to waste their time. Like,
Right.
and
You're
it's
the one
like,
of the ones that gotta put in the bio like hung, you know what I mean? Like hung plus or whatever.
I'm not like that, but like, if a guy's dick is too small, I'm just gonna tell him. I'm like, I love that you're turned on by me, baby. Your dick's not breaking the floodgates. I'm sorry.
Right. Yeah. So it's more like it's like an efficiency thing for you. It's not like you're like super what's it called, picky about it.
No, I'm not like the person who's like, you have to be 10 inches.
Uh-huh.
It's
You're
like,
like you at least have to make it in.
yeah, and those motherfuckers, it's like lower your standards. Like God,
It's stupid. I mean, it's real. How wouldn't it be worse if you were like, yeah, come over, and then they get over, they whip it out, and you're like, oh no, too small, get out.
but but it's like if somebody could fit, I don't think that's too small. But like, I don't know. I try not to size shame.
Size
I'm
change.
just being. That's why it's like all dicks are beautiful. I think I heard a porn star say that at one point.
Hmm, that's
So
nice.
so like why not?
I had a
Anyway.
homegirl. She said one time, "A dick's a dick," and I was like, "Wow, that's profound." Because it's true.
But I will say this because I've already opened up enough. So like, are you verse? Are you top?
Um, I'm definitely more of a top. Yeah, I feel like people think I like to like bottom a lot because I have like a fat ass, and then I feel like the fact that like Klein clients, fans, whatever, like they like it, they like my ass, so I kind of like, show it off, like make it part
Yeah.
of like, my selling point. But it's like in reality, what I like, what pleases me is usually ass too.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
like honestly, there's nothing wrong with that. It's like there's nothing wrong with being like primarily top, primarily verse, or it's like verse, and it's like everything should. It's like as I say, I did have somebody ask me to top them. Actually, my friends with benefits, like for years we had been together. Like I had been bottoming the whole time, and they're like I want you to top. I'm like okay.
I think that's when, yeah, I feel like that's like the only time that it's like kind of seems fun, is when you've like, just topped them like 1,000 times, and it's like, well, let's maybe try it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah. But for me,
and
I don't know. I don't always like. I feel like it's painful for me. So yeah, so I'm usually just a top.
fair. So, what made you get into modeling?
Um, I remember I wanted to when I was a kid. Like I always wanted to do something like acting, singing, modeling, like some kind of entertainment. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So, I remember when I was a kid, I did like these like classes. That were probably like a ripoff, honestly. You know how they like
yeah.
target people. Um, but yeah, and then I've done like a couple runway shows, and just like a lot of my photo shoots, like on my Instagram and social media, are mostly like concepts that I've kind of just came up with and like had fun with and tried to, just show myself in different like styles and stuff like that.
Okay, so just one thing I am actually kind of curious about. So, you being so like tatted up, is that been like a hindrance to you like modeling, or is it like has it really not affected you?
I feel like it definitely puts me in a category. I don't know if it would hinder me, but
Yeah,
it's like I am gonna be hired to be the tattooed model. You know what I mean?
right.
Like they're not gonna like, I feel like if it's like an open position and it's like they didn't have someone fully tatted in mind, I wouldn't necessarily like make the cut. But if they did, like, they're like, we have this guy, this guy, this guy. We just need someone who looks a little, rough or whatever. And then they saw me, like, you'll probably get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So I feel like, yeah, it definitely kind of maybe puts me in a category, but I kind of like that I have my own category in a way too. It's kind of cool.
and it's like right, and
Yeah,
it's
it's
like
like,
it's you being you. It's you being you. It's like you did that artistically, like theoretically, at least from what I see. I don't know. Maybe you have some. It doesn't look like your tattoos are cheap. So like,
no, I got a couple discounted ones, but I've I don't know how much I've spent, but if I did know, I would probably like be so pissed about it because it's a lot. Like I could have bought a nice car, I know that, with all the tattoos. But I just looked at it like I only have one life, and
yeah,
I might as well get as tatted as I can while I'm here because that's what I like.
yeah, and it's like again, you have one life. It's like do what you want. It's like as long as you're not harming anybody else or yourself, you like just fucking do
Right.
it.
People always are like, I think it's silly when people are like, oh, what about when you get old and your tattoos look like wrinkly? And I'm like, well, you know, wrinkly skin looks like wrinkly skin either way, whether it has a tattoo or not. In my opinion, I don't think it looks any
Yeah.
better. So I'm not really worried about it.
And plus, that's when you say I'm gay, sweetie. I'm probably gonna get all that stuff like surgically pulled as much.
Right? I'm like, do you not see this fucking face? Just kidding.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Let me be humble about it. That's when you start having problems, when you get like comfortable.
No, and it's like, listen, that's the thing where it's like, as I say, and and then I can tell you're not like arrogant. I've never had somebody arrogant on here.
Really?
No.
Yeah, I feel like people think I am, but I'm really not.
No.
I'm really not.
Well, first of all, somebody who's arrogant wouldn't like agree to do an interview with somebody who's like isn't like known if they're not like, oh, you're not as famous as like Joe Rogan. It's like, sorry, we all got to fucking start somewhere.
Right. Come on now. It's very like that. I mean, in any entertainment thing, you know what I mean? Even like trying to take music seriously, it's like your music is always going to be not, you're not going to be popping until you are, you know what I mean? And it's like a lot of people don't want to support someone who's not famous yet either. Like it almost doesn't look cool to listen to music that's not famous enough or something. You know what I mean?
See, I am, well, again, this is me being a musician. It's like, I would rather push somebody who's good, that's like not as like well known versus like somebody who's like big and blowing up. That's why like when all these gays are like obsessed with, oh my gosh, I'm going to see Beyonce. I'm like, what's the big fucking deal? Like,
I kind of did want to go. I'm not gonna lie.
Because here was my thing. I will say this. Obviously, like, we're going into musical inspirations. That's literally my next question. So it's like, obviously, like I'm a huge fan of Gaga. So like, I understood that obsession. Like when all the gays were obsessing with Lady Gaga, that made sense to me.
Right.
Because like Lady Gaga is literally almost a drag queen herself. It's like, what the fuck is Beyonce?
I mean, I think this is my opinion. Like, I don't think she's the best vocalist of our generation, but definitely a pretty good one. She did it right by starting out in a really famous girl group. You know what I mean? She already got some fame from that. Then she went on and had a really successful solo career. But I just like the fact that she, puts on a good show. She does this tour. She doesn't as much from what I've seen, but she usually dances her fucking ass off. Like, I do feel like she's kind of like the MJ of our generation. Yeah.
I mean,
I see it that way.
That's fair. So anyway, speaking of that, who are some of your musical inspirations?
Definitely Michael is like a big one for sure. Even though, it's obviously like we have different styles. I think just looking at art and creativity, he's really inspiring in that sense. Of course, everyone knows I love Nicki Minaj. She's probably my favorite female rapper. For guys, I really like Biggie. I like Lil Wayne a lot. Who else? 50 Cent was like my first rap CD, I remember.
Yeah.
So I like him a lot too. Yeah. And for singers, Beyonce. I really like Whitney too. Whitney's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I can like any genre or style. I feel like I just have to feel the real emotion in it.
Right. And
for me,
I would say to some people, I always say that I'm a singer, but like I have some rap influences because I also do a little bit of rapping myself. So obviously like Lady Gaga, Christina Aguilera, definitely. Like,
I like her a lot too.
yeah.
That's an unpopular opinion too.
What, Christina Aguilera?
Yeah,
Really?
I feel like, well, a lot of people were like, "Who's that?" Because they're a Britney fan. You know, there's a lot of Britney fans that don't like her.
I like Britney too, so it's like
I do too. I can like
it's
both sides.
yeah, you can like everything. It's much like I would say as much as like when people talk about like I'm a Nicki Minaj fan, but I also like Lil Kim and I like Remy
Oh
Ma and
yeah,
stuff like that. So it's like
Cardi. Yeah, I
Cardi,
mean,
Cardi's not bad, but like Cardi is not like amazing. Like
yeah, it's like I feel like, no offense, but people have their reasons to not like Cardi. Because
well,
it's just my thing being a writer, like, and she's been open about not writing her music, so it's kind of like just like a kill for me.
and it's like I'm a little bit more like even harder on artists because it's like literally when I make music, like when I say like I literally do from like start to finish. Like I make the beats, I
Yeah,
write my own
wow.
lyrics. Yeah, I do it like
I'm
all.
not
And it's like
technical like that at all.
it's 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 not as easy. It's like grueling, but I love it. But it's
But that
like
would be so cool to be able to do because you get to make it so how you want and have every bit of control on it.
yeah.
That's cool.
But it's like you being a rapper, it's like that makes sense because like most people are like they go in like pen their lyrics and like that's good. Which I mean, like for
Yeah.
rappers, it's I think it's cool. For singers, it's like my thing with it is at least like if the best thing about your music is the production, then that means you're not as an artist bringing anything to the table.
Yeah, I feel that. Yeah, it has to be like good when you walk in the door and the producer just, ties it all together. But the producer I work with here, I'm like super thankful. I think he's really talented. I feel like I would never want to work with anyone else.
Really, you well, but I
Well,
mean,
maybe it was also like I started working with him when I started rapping, so I feel like I was like less confident in recording and everything.
I guess it just depends on. And I guess I kind of like that because it's like you don't want to go to the producer that everybody wants to go to. So it's like some people are like, I would just love to have like I'm gonna use some old names here because like I don't really pay attention to rappers. Like Mike Will made it, DJ Mustard. Like it's like
Right,
why would you want to go to the person that everybody's going to?
right.
That means you're gonna get the same sound that they're getting, and there's gonna be no creativity to you.
That's true. Yeah, I really like if you pay attention, like that producer that Ice Spice uses. I think he has a lot of different sounding stuff.
But I mean, yeah, it's like what was it? I was thinking back to like 2013 when like speaking of Britney, it's like when Britney put out Britney Jean, and it's like everyone's like, Britney did such a bad album. I'm like, that album's not her fault. Will I Am was the one in the studio, like producing all these shitty beats that all pretty much sound the same.
Really.
Yeah, it's like that's why I will not be afraid to say this. Will I Am is literally the most whack producer in the industry.
Oh, Will I Am. Oh
Yeah,
yeah. I don't like
yeah.
that song that they came out with, the Mind Your Business. I think it's silly in my opinion.
It's it was I like her part. I like Britney's part. I don't like his thing.
Yeah.
But it's
I
like
didn't even listen to the whole thing.
they basically just redid Scream and Shout except for this generation. It's like, but that's because Will.i.am knows how to make beats in one genre.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you're not able to go to like different genres, yeah, your sound's gonna sound exactly the same.
Yeah.
So, who would be your dream artist to collaborate with?
Mm. Probably Nicki Minaj for sure. That would be crazy. And I feel like we would honestly make a really good song. That's the crazy part about it.
Nicki is just like everybody's on here. Of course, like Nicki is mine for rapper.
Yeah.
I would say her or Iggy. I'd love to do a song with Iggy
Oh
Azalea.
yeah.
I know Iggy gets a lot of hate, but like,
She does get a lot of hate. That new song she came out with isn't bad.
which new song?
I saw it has a video. I don't know what it's called. Money Come.
Ooh, I need to check that out because like,
Yeah, see, a lot of people don't even know about it.
no,
She's
because
so hot too. She looks so good.
and I have been there for her like literally when nobody else would do it, like after like her debut album. Like, one of my favorite songs to perform is like
Which one's that?
Team. It's off of
The
it
classic.
was no, it would have been off of what was supposed to be her sophomore album called Digital Distortion that never came out.
Oh shit! Really?
Yeah, so it's like she released that song as a single, and then all of a sudden she got released from. God, I want to say she's on Def Jam.
She was whatever label Ti is with, because she was
Yeah,
with.
yeah. Oh, yeah. That's right. It's whatever. Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah, I was a fan of her back then. I remember this one guy who like put me onto her, and I was like, okay, she's pretty cool. Back when she had that song like Bounce, like before Fancy came out.
You're talking about. Oh, yeah, you're talking about old school. Yeah.
Yeah, I liked her back then. I feel like a lot of these artists, I like them a lot when they first come out, and then I feel like they kind of just lose it for me, and that's why I like Nicki because she always seems to reinvent a little bit. You know what I mean? Like even Meg The Stallion, I really liked her when she first came out, and I think um, her earlier stuff is kind of a lot better.
Like, I would say that. Like,
Sweetie, she's another one. You know what I mean? City Girls, a lot
yeah,
of
you're like, when all these artists like first come out, they like make all this like.
they bring the heat. And then, you know, it's like that though. You ever work somewhere too long and you get comfortable at your job and you kind of, you don't try as hard.
Hmm.
I mean, it's good if you don't, but I think a lot of people are like that. You know, they get comfortable.
Well, my last job, it's not that I wasn't like trying as hard. What happens is they literally like physically broke me.
Really?
Like, literally, they caused me to like. They were like working me so hard that I ended up developing bone spurs in the heels of my feet.
What's that? I feel like
It's
I have that. My feet hurt.
basically what it is whenever you're like standing too long or like moving too long, you get like this sharp like stinging pain and like the
I have that.
yeah.
I swear. I think it's because I've been bartending for a long time and stuff. You know what I mean?
It's literally the only thing that like I would say at least like cured it or like made it less bad for me is to like leave a job where I was on my feet all day and work at a desk job.
That's what I want to do, but looking like this, I don't know who's gonna want me behind the desk. You know, they like to see me behind a bar or something like that.
You literally can't get. I'm not talking about like a job where you have to like physically like see people. Like, I work at a call center. Like,
Oh, okay. See, that would be good.
yeah,
Mm, yeah, I don't know.
it's like it doesn't pay shit, but like
I also be
it's
having an attitude sometimes. So,
well. The thing is, what it is okay. So I work for a internet provider slash cable company. They have like a residential and business side. I worked residential for 2 months, and then they offered me to go over to business. I'm like, these customers are horrible. Let me go over here.
I bet the business customers are a little better.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. But even so, they're probably still pissed.
Well, the thing they're pissed about is I literally work for a company where like it seems like every day there's an outage somewhere.
Hmm.
And they expect you to lie. They're working on it. They're like, "Where's the estimated time?" I'm like,
You said, dude,
they do expect you to lie because it's like
some people.
they're they're like they're working on it. Meanwhile, I'm working for a company. Believe it or not, I represent businesses that are out where you are in Arizona. I live
Mhm.
in Florida. But
Yeah,
you have some people who are like, thank God, there's an American talking to me.
yeah. It's like I don't really care. I just need to be able to understand whoever's on the phone. You know what I
Right.
mean? If they're gonna be like speaking English, it does need to be like, it does need to sound like English.
Right.
That's all. You know,
Totally.
I feel like I'm good at trying to understand people with accents or even people who don't speak English. Like, just bartending for so long, like I just come across people who are like signaling things to me. I just kind of
Yeah.
get it after a while. It's funny.
So, yeah. Oh, so I guess I'm gonna answer this. Who would be my dream artist to collaborate with?
Yes.
I get split this up into like queer and non-queer people because I'm all about supporting like smaller queer artists. So like for non-queer, for me, it would definitely be like Lady Gaga or Iggy or Nicki. Would definitely be like my
Hmm.
top three. For queer people, I'm gonna say like Demilo, who I just interviewed. Pretty Boy Rock. Um,
I think I've heard of him.
yeah. Benji Bradshaw, who's my friend. Sage Suede, who's like I call him a rapper. He doesn't like to be classified as that. I'm like, I heard you sing, baby. Just say you're a rapper.
Uh-huh.
And like, who else? Onyx, who's like musician. Yeah, I could go down a list. It's like I'm as I said, I'm not one of those people who's like, oh, you're not like a top 40 artist. I don't want to deal with you.
Yeah.
It's like as you said, people get jaded when they're in that like music system for so long. You'd probably get something better with somebody who's underground.
Uh-huh. Yeah. At least it's gonna sound new, you know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, there's pros and cons with both. Like the production could be maybe not as great or something, but it's definitely there's people who aren't famous doing, you know, things if not better than people that are famous.
Because there's some people like speaking of I know you said Texas. Speaking of like Texas rappers, I feel like Asian Doll, somebody who's like not huge, like I feel like her spit game is like really good, but because she was signed to Gucci Mane's label. Like she never really like made it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of these people get in bad management deals and stuff like that. That's why I don't know. I watch like a lot of videos and like documentaries about like artists and careers and stuff like that. And like, yeah, when the time comes, I'm definitely having a lawyer look at that contract because a lot of these people, it's like they sign a contract thinking it's gonna blow them up, and then it like just takes them like to here when they were really supposed to go like so much higher.
It's almost why I've had this discussion. I would rather sign to like a distribution company where it's like
Uh huh.
all well, especially because I can like make my own beats. It's like I'd rather you just like front me the money and I'll pay you back. Like that sounds better to me than like me signing a contract to your label because like then I'm gonna want to produce my own beats and you're not gonna like that. You're gonna want me to work with these 7 producers so I can owe you all this money back.
Mm-hmm. Right. That's crazy.
Yeah. So, what's your dating life been like?
Well, it's crazy. It's a lot to unpack, honestly, sometimes. No, because I'm going through a divorce,
Oh
but
no.
the divorce is it started a year ago. It's been dragging on. And aside from that, it's something that I really should have started a lot sooner. You know, looking back in hindsight, it's like,
Yeah.
what was I doing? So you know, so I've been doing that, and then I was in a relationship after that, and you know, I guess we just like agreed to like break up or whatever. But you know, I just have a lot going on, so
Yeah.
like it's a time to focus on me, as cliche as that sounds.
Right.
But you know, it's true. Like you really can't love someone else if you don't love yourself. And not like I don't love myself, like I hate myself, but loving yourself also is taking the time for you, you know, realizing like what you need to do and like not putting shit off, you know.
Right.
So
Well,
trying to do that. But we'll see what happens. You never know.
yeah. I mean, I will say, especially now, like living at home, I'm so glad I'm like not at the point where I'm like, I want to start a relationship. No, because I've had two relationships. Both of them ended. Well, one ended kind of like suddenly, and then the other one ended kind of tragically. So I dated somebody for a year who like we were living together, and then all of a sudden one day I got a note with a key in the door saying I'm transitioning.
That's crazy.
It's like I know you won't accept me for the way that I am, which she wasn't wrong about. Like not saying that like I hate people who are trans. It's just I was young. I didn't really know much about trans people.
Right.
And it's like it's not only that, like there was a little bit of like what I call like lying because like she was going on hormones when she lived with me and not telling me.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
And
that's shady.
it's shady and it's like yeah, definitely. So then when I broke up with her, I did the stupid thing, which was getting in a relationship immediately after breaking up with her. Which again, when you're young and dumb, you do that kind of shit.
Right.
And I ended up dating that person I ended up dating for a month. And then as we were breaking up, I found out they were racist.
Oh shit, no way.
Like it was The one time I dated a white guy, and like all of a sudden, as we were breaking up, they literally said, I'm not going to say the word, but they said, all you ever want is that N-word dick.
Oh my God. That's his insecurity talking. You know what I mean? That's
And,
crazy.
and it's like, well, the thing was, this is what I'll say. He got mad. So we were trying to be in a like open relationship, like a mutual open relationship. So one day I went to work and he decided to get sucked off by two guys while I was at work. Behind my back. I'm like, okay. So if you're not going to obey the rules, neither am I. So when he went to work one day, I got fucked by somebody. I got fucked. This is the part. I didn't tell him this part, but it would have killed him. It was a deaf black guy, too. So it was like.
Bless his heart.
And I'm like. And that's why I said that's like, baby. It's like, you're right. As you said, it's insecurity. It's like, I'm clearly with you.
Right.
Literally, like, towards the end, it was like, I'm putting up with you because I was starting to get fed up.
Yeah. It gets like that. And it's like, you're still with them because obviously you see the qualities that you love, but it starts to like conflict, right?
Maybe this is the bad part of me. I'm trying to think about the good qualities. I can't remember it.
See, that's how you know it was time to call it quits.
Yeah. So, what's your relationship to drugs and alcohol?
As a teenager, I definitely experimented with a lot of drugs. Put myself in a lot of crazy, suspicious situations that, like, looking back, I'm like lucky to be alive, honestly. But I never got like addicted to a drug. I feel like there was definitely maybe a few that I kind of had a liking to, but I think I always knew that I didn't like, because I saw my dad like struggle
Right,
like a whole
definitely.
lifetime. I can pretty much remember him being in and out of jail. So I just knew it wasn't like really a path that I wanted to go down. I am currently, drinking less. I think, dancing and drinking, like I always use the alcohol to make me like more comfortable with it. But if you do that too much, it becomes like a habit, and it's almost like you need the alcohol to dance, and
Right.
you don't need it, but then you feel like, I don't know, you have this like feeling like you're not gonna make as much or look like you're having as much fun or smile as much or be as social, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it was like a crutch. I feel like I used it like a crutch for a long time, and now I'm just trying to get more comfortable with not drinking while it's mostly while dancing too. I feel like if you're off, and don't do it every day, but you know what I mean, if you want to go like have fun every now and then, go do it. But
Yeah.
while being like at work, dancing, probably just not drinking all the time is good, because then if you're working 4 or 5 times a week, you end up drinking 4 or 5 times a week. And if you're trying to go to the gym and eat healthy, it's just like it doesn't all mix together.
Right. And I mean, I get that. I don't drink now when I perform only because of the story I'm about to tell you. So, I had a night where it was a night where people were buying me drink after drink after drink after drink.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got in my car and I had to drive an hour and a half home. Or no, drive an hour home. Yeah.
Fucking far.
Yeah. And I did make it till I got literally to the town next to where I live, and like that's when I got pulled over by a cop. And luckily, I say like my dad like picks me up, so I didn't have to get a DUI. But it's like that's where I started looking like, okay, this I can't do this anymore.
Yeah. There's always like something that, yeah.
And then in terms of drugs, so speaking of the bone spurs, before I got like health insurance, which is crazy expensive, obviously. Fucking hate you, America. But it's like it took me 4 months to get on health insurance once I developed these bone spurs, and like in the time I didn't have it, I was abusing ibuprofen like crazy.
Mm.
Like I was taking 18, 24 pills a day. Yeah.
Hmm.
And that's when I had to step back and I'm like, I need to stop this. It's not going to be good for me long term.
Right. You have to think about the long term. Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, that's the closest. It's like the thing is, especially like being in entertainment, being just gay. It's like I've been around everything. I just have never done it.
Really. Yeah. I experimented a lot, really young, um, and had like some scary moments that I feel like taught me like lessons, you know?
My thing with everything now is, and like probably why I wouldn't do it now, is like everything's laced with
Yes.
fentanyl. And it's like you don't know
Yes.
what you're taking. And it's like,
Literally. Yeah. I feel like at least like when I was doing it, stuff when I was like a kid, like we knew, like everyone knows, like ecstasy pills are not like full MDMA. You know what I mean?
right,
Um, but I think stuff was at least more pure back then because that was before the fentanyl like epidemic. You know what I mean?
right.
Definitely was. That's really scary. I actually have an older cousin who I lost to a fentanyl overdose, and she was left actually like brain dead, and her kids I think had to make the decision to like let her go after a while,
Damn.
you
Yeah.
know. And like, yeah, she probably didn't even know that she was doing that much fentanyl. She probably intended on doing something else than that. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's crazy. Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts on how the LGBT community is being treated today?
Like with politics and stuff.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And I think it's kind of alarming that a lot of people don't care because that's exactly how it happens.
Yeah.
So, but I think you see throughout history, like if you look back in like ancient history, there's times where being gay was actually more okay, and sometimes even like trans genders were like praised. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think in history it kind of comes and goes in waves, how much they like us and how much they don't, but they definitely always see us as different.
Yeah. And it's like I would say the point that you said about like people saying that they don't want to go out and vote, it's because
Hmm.
the saddest part is with this only being a two-party system in America, it's like even the candidates who like have a message where it's like that's great, like you actually want to take care of the people, that's not who the status quo is putting up.
Hmm.
it's like when you look at somebody like Marianne Williamson, who's like, that would be somebody great to be president. But
Right.
the Democratic Party is definitely going to choose Joe Biden. And it's like, well, we have to choose between the guy who's half dead
Bro, isn't it
and
crazy?
and whatever clown the Republicans are going to decide.
Yeah.
Probably Donald Trump again. And it's like,
Yeah, that's the thing. It's kind of like religion. Like I'm very spiritual, but I think a lot of religions are kind of obviously, they don't like us, and
right,
they're
obviously.
not standing on what they're supposed to be standing on with the love thy neighbor and shit like that. You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
come on. So it's like kind of like that. Like I don't like the whole way the politics is set up. You know what I mean? This image they're giving, it's not what it is.
Yeah. And
And they
it's
don't give
like,
the people who are like really should have a chance. They don't ever get that chance.
and to your point of like, love thy neighbor, when people say like that's Christianity, I'm like, and all I have to do is tell them my story about coming out and being locked in a mental institution. It's like, how is that love thy neighbor? That's
Right.
you literally abusing the power you have.
Right. Yeah. That was they was living in a neighborhood where everyone was the same as them. That's why.
Right. That's also like when people say like, oh, people are born racist. It's like, no, you're not born racist. You're
think it's
taught
taught.
racism.
Sure. Yeah. I think it's taught. It's taught, and some people are just easily influenced than others. You know what I mean? I grew up in a country ass town in Ohio after Cincinnati, so it was a lot of like racist. I feel like if I was like easily influenced, I could have grew up like that. Like, there were like my nana, for instance, like she wasn't racist, but like she won't go out of her way to hate. But I definitely heard her make a few comments about people of different colors over the years, like never drop an N-bomb or anything like that.
Yeah.
But maybe a little prejudice, I would say, right? But like it kind of changed when she got older because my cousin like had like mixed babies and stuff, and it like really changed her mindset a little bit, which I thought was kind of cute in a way. Kind of bad, kind of cute.
Yeah. And it's like, again, it's like being in this is the thing. I would say when people talk about Florida, there's like, and everyone says like, there are liberal parts of Florida. It's like, no, there's one. It's
Mhm.
Miami.
Right.
It's like, and everything else. That's why like I'm in
Even
a fairly
Orlando's not very
I mean,
liberal.
no, Orlando actually. I take that back. There's two. So Orlando is very like liberal, but
Uh-huh.
Orlando's Miami's liberal in like the fact that like it's liberal just all around. Orlando is liberal but religious. That's the sad part.
Yeah.
And to my final question, what's the biggest misconception about you?
Oh my god, that's so funny. I feel like there's a lot. I'm not gonna lie. I just feel like people always get the wrong idea of me, and that's why I feel like it's good to say how I feel so they know exactly. You know what I mean? There's no like assumption, but the biggest one is probably it's either um, I don't know. I guess just that I'm like rude or mean or something like that. Um, when half the time, like, believe it or not, if I'm not like working in that moment, I'm like usually a little more shy. Like if I'm like performing and then I don't look shy, it's because I'm like coaching myself through that. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah,
so I guess sometimes I'm just quiet in public, and people maybe they've like seen me around or heard, and they expect me to be like this loud ball of fire, but sometimes it's like not always the case. So I guess just people think I'm rude a lot, honestly.
No. Yeah, and it's like that's most performers. It's like when people see like, but you're this way on stage, it's like, yeah, that's because most performers are introverts and that's where they shine.
Literally, if you're an artist, yeah.
It's like I've met in doing this podcast, I met one extroverted person who is, I'm gonna do air quotes on this, an actor.
Okay.
But
They film things.
no, that's the thing. It's like no shade. I'm gonna say this. I love you, Phoenix. His name is Phoenix, but he calls himself an actor. I'm like, motherfucker. I follow you on on Instagram. I never see you on set promoting anything that you're in.
Uh,
The last thing they promoted was the the reality show where I met them,
really?
which was they were on the first season of For the Love of Dilfs. They were the first person eliminated. That's their claim to fame.
Oh, for the love of dips. I was thinking
Yeah.
about that one, or like go for the gold or something.
I've actually interviewed people from both of those shows. So like,
Really?
yeah.
Yeah, I kind of want to get into it. I've just never got into my casting tape mode.
Which I mean, if you were to do like, here's the thing: For the Love of Dilfs would be great if you're like into the show, like, and
Like
you're
if you really
willing.
want to find someone.
I don't even think it's if you really want to find someone. It's like if you're willing to play a game, because this is the question I literally asked the two people other than my friend Milo who was on the show. It's like, did you really believe when you went on that show that you were actually going to fall in love? Because it's like there is no fucking way
There's no way.
you're gonna fall in love on a set.
I know, imagine, but I don't know. What if? What if they had some crazy story? You know what I mean? And they like also went in thinking they were gonna fall in love, but by chance, y'all kind of hit it off.
See, my thing
That would be
is, if you wanted to do it for like a social media boost, I'd say go for it.
Yeah, I think that's why most people do it. Because they'll do like other reality shows as well. You know what I mean? A lot of people who are on reality shows that go to like other ones.
Yeah, actually, I don't. Well, the person I know from that show who actually worked in Phoenix at one point, I know they follow you. I don't know if you follow them.
Who is it?
And that would be Prince Joshua.
Oh yes, I know him.
Okay.
We're friends.
Yeah. I've interviewed Prince Joshua.
Have you?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I didn't see that one. I looked through a few of them.
Yeah. I'll send you that one.
Yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, I love him. He lives in LA now.
Yeah.
He's a sweetie.
I know that's the one thing where it's like that's where I kind of learned about Phoenix, because like where I learned about like the town of Phoenix, because it's like most thing. When I think Arizona, I think maybe this is just me being like an East Coast person. I consider Arizona like one of those flyover states where you get to California. Like,
Really? Oh,
yeah,
yeah. We have some nice like sceneries. You know what I mean? Like Sedona. Have you heard of Sedona? It's fucking beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, we have the Grand Canyon. We have a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, like, The thing is, my aunt's thinking about moving. She said either to Arizona or New Mexico, so I may end up out there at some point. Just like
Yeah, you'll have to come visit. I'll show you around.
that's the thing. I have to. What was that? I was mentioning this point. I would love to go everywhere. It's like the thing is, I have a job. Like,
Right. That's what makes it hard.
because that's why I've had people who like, you should come out and visit like Seattle. I'd love, or you should come out and visit Boston. It's like, I'd love to. I gotta pick a place because like I can't go everywhere.
Right. I know. I love Cali. I love San Diego.
See, I've been to San Diego once. I was in high school. Like San Diego's not bad.
Yeah.
Never been to LA.
Really.
No.
I was there for LA Pride and WeHo Pride, and it was like super gay everywhere. It was pretty cool.
Of course.
Yeah. I like it. I like how accepted we are there. I'll say that. Like it's almost like a culture shock. You know what I mean? Because I'm from Ohio and then Arizona, and those are like both like red places. Ohio might be like Democratic technically, but I don't think back then it was like that.
No, and it's like, well, first of all, when people say like LA is accepting, it's almost like it has to be because
what would y'all do without us? You know what I mean? We're like 90% of the population there. Like we run LA. Let's be real.
It's like there's too many gay people. There is too many gay people in LA. It's probably why I don't want to go there.
It's funny. It's really funny. Like, you know what I mean? Here you see it'll be like if you have a neighborhood, there's probably one gay guy in that neighborhood. Here it's probably like one straight guy in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's so different. I don't know. I like it though. I like the weather because it's hot as hell here.
But isn't it hot in LA?
It's so much less hot. Like I get cold there.
But see, this is the thing, and maybe I'm wrong about this. But doesn't it get cold at night in Arizona?
Some places, but like I said, I think because Phoenix has that concrete jungle oven thing going on, there's like in the summer it'll be over 100 at night here still.
Oh no. Okay, wait. No, this is the thing. I'm thinking probably during like winter it gets cold.
It does. I get freezing in the winter, and it's a dry heat, so it's like a dry cold. So like your skin gets really like chapped sometimes in the winter.
Yeah, as I say, like the thing is, like I get that like difference in temperature because it's like living in Orlando versus living in South Florida. It's completely different because like when you're by the ocean, it's a lot like warmer than it is like inland.
Right.
So it's like that's why when people down in South Florida wear like a sweater when it's like 60 degrees outside, I'm like, what?
I would wear a sweater at 60 degrees. Yeah.
See, no, I'm more like it's got to be at least like 40 for me to put on a sweatshirt. Like
that's almost freezing temperature.
What?
Stuff freezes at like what 32 or something like that.
Yeah. It's like
science class.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's right. Good point.
No, I get cold easy though. Like I'm super sensitive. Like my roommates probably hate me because like I think the comfortable temperature to have your house is like 75.
See, I can get with that.
Yeah.
75 I like.
Yeah, I'm not one of those like 69 degrees type of people. That's
no, crazy. My dad likes to keep it because I live with my dad. My dad likes to keep it at 78 all year. I'm like,
Oh, that's kind of hot.
Yeah, that's
I will
why
need the fan on with that one. Yeah, that's hot.
I have my ceiling fan, and then I have 2 fans on over here. Like,
Good Lord, that's almost 80.
yeah, and I'm like, it's just
Yeah, but when I sleep, I'll go a little colder, like 72.
see, my thing was I'm hoping my dad bought like a camper, and I was hoping he would go on vacation for like a month, like go away somewhere, so that way like I could like turn down the AC when he like leaves the house. Like,
Hell yeah. Or you take the camper and travel.
I don't know a truck.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
That would be scary too. I don't want to drive like a trailer on a truck like that. I'm good.
No, and it's like, no, I don't want to take the trailer either. Like, my thing is like, that's why when some gays are like, let's go camping out in the woods, I'm like, you gonna bring my ass out in the woods? No, it's like you want to go camping? Let's go camping at the Motel 6. Like,
I'm dead. I like camping if there's water. Like take me to a lake and I would camp. That's fun. That's a good time.
no,
Get a boat during the day and shit.
I'm not an outdoor. That's probably the other reason why I want out of Florida. Like, I'm not an outdoors person. I'd rather be indoors at all times.
Really? Yeah. Come to Arizona. You'd love it. That's what we do. Seriously, when I would bartend, they'll be like, what's there to do for fun here? I'm like, girl, it's July. You better stay your ass inside. Are you crazy?
Yeah, wow. Yeah, that's gonna be good. Oh yeah, I would. Yeah, because you said it's hot. That definitely would be not.
Yeah, I mean today it's starting to cool down for us here, but I'm trying to see like what temperature it is. I don't know. It was definitely over 100.
I'll look at what it is here too now.
My car said like 101 going to work. That's the thing too. A lot of people like if their car is like about to break down, like
Yeah.
it'll definitely break down in the summer because it's too hot.
Okay. You would think that this is cool. I think that this is too hot. It's 83.
There.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. See, I love that weather. Like in the fall and the spring is the good times to come here. That's when we have perfect weather. Mostly the fall.
Yeah, because spring it's probably cold. I remember interviewing somebody in March. No. Yeah.
March is still pretty cold.
March. Yeah.
In my opinion.
And they said it was 40. I'm like, that sounds so nice. Because I think here is like 79. And I'm like, I would much rather trade places with you, believe me. Like,
yeah, we don't have the humidity here, so but I like a little humidity. Just a tad.
Yeah. Well, anyway, with that being said, it was great getting to meet you.
Yes, thank you for having me. Appreciate you. Everybody, be waiting for Past Due. It's coming out October. You better stream it on all platforms.
Yeah. And with that being said, this is Gay Out the City. I'm your host, Prince Electro Diamond, and I hope you've enjoyed.
Bye, guys.